Imagine a space for South Asian women where stories are not just told, but actually felt. This is ROOH, Rising Over Obstacles and Healing, brought to you by Jyoti and Monica, two friends who set out to carve a little space and make a difference by sharing stories and fostering healing and strength within our community. We invite you to listen and reflect, finding your own path one story at a time. And just for sticking around, there's a golden biscuit at the end of each episode. Hello and welcome to ROOH. So this week, guess who I have? Monica decided to join.
I'm back.
I had to remind her that this podcast is, with Jyoti and Monica. And Monica has been MIA.
Hey, it's summer, right?
It's summer and she's been up to some things. And, I guess I kind of sort of understand Monica.
Yeah.
But, sooner or later, you're going to have to be a regular again,
I will. I miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too. I do definitely miss you. I don't want to get sappy on here, but yes, I do. I do miss talking to you.
I was thinking about it the other day. Actually, I think it was just yesterday. I was like, how I always say, well, I don't talk too much or, I listen more. I realized how much I talk because I wasn't around you. So I'm like, I'm not speaking to anyone. And that means I do speak a lot. I just don't have anyone who wants to listen to me.
Well, I'm happy to serve as your soundboard anytime.
Thank you.
And it's not long until hopefully, we're seeing each other much more again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I feel like after all these years of us just like chatting it up and shooting the breeze, that I just can't do life without you anymore.
Aw, I know.
It's like 100 things happen throughout the day. And I'm like, I have to tell Monica.
I know.
But there's such like inconsequential things.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're so insignificant that like when I actually talk to you on the phone, like, I can't be like, oh, guess what? My salad turned out like this. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
It's like those
it's
things
the little
where like,
things that you remember, like, I have to tell this person this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When it's like when you see each other every day and your lives intersect so much, like you make a production out of the smallest things.
Yeah. And you want to know what's so funny? I never realized this until this kind of like break happened between us seeing each other. When I was younger, I'd always think like, why is mom always on the phone with her sisters? Like they literally live within the same building, and then my mom and my youngest Masi also worked together. And I'm like, but they're still on their phone. Like, Japili, what did you make today? What did you do that? Right. And now as you say that, that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Before we actually started recording, I had to tell you, right, about my day. Yeah. And I had to get it out. It was like, But since we're on the topic of just speaking up or speaking and talking about things, there's some things we have no problem discussing. And there's some things that as South Asian women, we tend to just sort of hide or feel ashamed by and not necessarily feel comfortable sharing. So I'm actually going to share something today that is a situation like that. This was about, I want to say, it's been many years now. This is when I used to commute to the city. I would take the train into the city every day. And just on a regular day, I'm on the train going into work. And if anyone's lived on the East Coast and has traveled by train, you know that it's long. You have to leave your house a good hour and a half before your work time begins. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you are sleep deprived. When you're dealing with an hour and a half commute going in, hour and a half coming home, that's 3 hours of your day commuting. You're running short on sleep. And that was the case with me. And oftentimes you would catch me napping on the train. And on this particular day, I was on my way to work and I happened to fall asleep on the train. And I woke up with a start because I felt a hand crawling up my thigh.
Oh my God. Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm just like, wait, what? And I look and there's this man sitting next to me and the train was just packed and he's taking this liberty. And I'm just like, wait, what? And, I froze right there. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then what I did was I just got up from my seat and I moved away.
Mm-hmm.
And I never said anything to anyone about it, just sort of try to just like dismiss it, forget about it. And now all these years later, I wonder why this is the case with us. Why do we stay silent? Why don't we speak up? And for me, I've been trying to figure out like the reason why I just didn't say anything. And I think it just goes back to, I don't know where this feeling came from, but it was always like, if something like this happens, it's your fault.
Oh,
like where did this narrative come from? I don't know. But it's just like, just inherently, I just felt like, oh, this is my fault. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm dressed in business attire, wearing pants, like obviously just dressed very conservatively. Mm-hmm. And even if I wasn't, that's not an invitation for someone to,
of course,
start feeling me up, right?
Yeah.
But I just thought about this and I'm like, why didn't I say anything? Why did I feel like it was somehow my fault? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like to a certain extent, we're just conditioned this way from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right? When you think back to like harmless things like, oh, beta, say hello to everybody, right? That's fine. That's teaching us manners, teaching your kids manners. You should, right? Then it's like, give everyone a hug. Right. Even those creepy uncles that,
oh, come sit in my lap. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
But
right?
It was just, and you as a child, it's not even that you know anything else that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's like you're just shy because you don't know this person that well.
Yeah.
It's just assumed that whatever gesture a guest, family member, whatever it is, asks you to do, like you just do it. You just comply.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. It's like if you comply, you're a good child. Mm-hmm. You're a good kid. You do as asked. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you're not.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times, they always say kids have like this sixth sense.
Yeah.
Like kids can tell, kids can pick up on who's genuine, who's not. And if they're saying they don't want to hug someone, listen to them.
Yeah.
Which I think is more so happening now, like where people are becoming aware of it and they're saying it.
Right.
But like when we grew up, there was no such thing as like your child knows what they're talking about or your child, if your child's not comfortable, don't make them do something. It was like, if you're not comfortable doing something, it was like, well, why not? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Yeah. And then, but I also remember being told as a child, like, oh, make sure if so-and-so or anyone stranger, ever isn't around you is inappropriate, tell us. But then at the same time, you were also, supposedly just listen to whatever someone says. It's like, how are you supposed to distinguish between those two when you're a child?
Exactly. And I think like your upbringing is a little bit different in the sense that, you were born and raised in Canada.
Yeah.
For me, like the first 10 years of my life were in India. And in India, nobody talks about this.
Yeah.
Nobody says,
right?
Nobody teaches you what is appropriate, what is not. Mm. Nowadays, there's such a big emphasis on there's some areas of your body that are private that should not be touched.
Yeah.
Right? We make it a point. I know you do. You tell your kids, what's inappropriate, right?
Oh, definitely. Both my son, who's older, and my daughter especially. But, because he was on a soccer team and there were times when I would just leave him as he got older, I got comfortable with the coach and the parents, he would just stay for training on his own for 2 hours. Even at games, I would just drop him off or another parent would take him. And, I always told him, like, as nice as any of your coaches, teachers, whoever, even family members, I've said that, in general, there is no need for anyone to ever place their hands on somewhere where you don't feel comfortable to show you images that are not appropriate or to ask you to do something. And I think the biggest thing I ever read on Instagram once was that always let your children know that within family, you do not keep a secret. Like it's different of, yes, we have a birthday party or a present, but you do not do any kind of action or observe something. And someone who loves you should not be saying, this is a secret between you and I only. You let us know right away and don't ever be afraid to come up and tell us.
Yeah.
You will never get into trouble. And like when you said, like, here you are as a grown woman, the first reaction you had was you felt ashamed.
Yeah.
That you thought. And when you said that right now, when you're like, I'm thinking, why did I feel that? I just recall growing up as a kid, even though I was born and raised in Canada, and my parents were, quite modern, I would say, or in their thinking and the way they raised us, you still heard, whether it was through the movies or even in general, like, girls don't dress like that. You don't go up and speak to boys on your own. Don't be so overly, I wouldn't say confident, but social, right? Don't make yourself so available. Like all these, there's always these no's. Like you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't go out as a girl, you don't drink as a girl, you don't dance like that as a girl. All these do nots is going to make you feel as if, oh my gosh, why? And
it's
even sometimes
fault.
Internally, like that person is wrong for doing what they did. You feel the guilt. Whereas, no, it should be that creep.
Exactly. No, you're right. I mean, there were so many restrictions placed on us, right? Yeah. Like I remember there was a time, growing up, I was very young but I was able to drive at the time. And I remember my mom, my sister, and my brother and I went to go see a Hindi movie in the theater. And back then it was such a big deal, like to have a Hindi movie in the theater that you could go and watch, right? And I remember after seeing the movie, these guys, Indian boys started following us. And, I'm driving home and there's this car that's following us and my brother is sitting right next to me. At the time he's maybe 12 years old. And these guys are, rolling down their window, they're hollering, they're saying things. And it made me feel so ashamed.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, maybe we shouldn't come to the movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was, that was a different time. I'm not going to say that happens now because, I think that was just a very, very different time back then. I don't think, South Asian men or women were allowed to date as openly and whatnot. That's been more in the last 15 years or so. I want to say, before that, it was a different time. But, I just remember feeling so guilty, so ashamed, and thinking that somehow I brought this upon myself.
Were you afraid that you were going to be the one getting into trouble because they were, right?
Oh, I was. Absolutely. 100%. I just remember thinking, thank God my dad is not in the car.
Yeah.
That's all I remember thinking because I'm like, my dad either would have lost it and definitely said something to those guys at best, at worst, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
But then he would have turned around and he would have talked to me about it. And, I would have somehow felt like it's all my fault. I brought this on.
Yeah. Right? It's like, oh, did you look at them? Do you know them from school or for something?
Yeah.
Or what? It's like all these interrogative questions upon us as opposed to those who are actually doing those actions.
Exactly. And it's just so deeply rooted in us that we just automatically assume, oh, we must have said something. We must have somehow brought this upon ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But, that narrative has to change. Right. And and it is changing. But I feel like in the older generation, it's still seen this way. I'm talking about our parents' generation, right? I feel like they still believe that if a man acts inappropriately towards a woman, that the woman has brought it upon herself.
Yeah. And the thing is, guys never used to take a no easily.
Oh, yeah.
Used to be like, first you would ignore, you wouldn't even want to listen, you wouldn't make eye contact. Then if they wouldn't stop, you'd be like, please go away, or no, I don't want to date you, or give me my number, whatever it is. But for them, that little no or conversation used to be like, oh my God, she did speak to me. She does. And it was like, my no doesn't even mean a no.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, this is so funny because out of those guys that were following us, after the movie, I recognized one of them. And I used to work at this department store where these customers would come in and they see guys would come in and whatnot. And this one, I recognized him because he happened to be a regular there. And so after this incident, he happened to come by and I actually called him over, because this was something that really the whole situation left an impression on me. And I was not only upset at myself, but I was also very, I felt helpless. I felt like as girls, like South Asian girls at that time, what is it? We can't even go to the movies. You know what I mean? Something as harmless as going to the movies with your family. Like we can't even do this. So it was really in my mind, right? So I called him over. When he walked by, I spoke to him and I said, listen, you were at the movies the other day. He goes, yes. And I was like, I noticed you followed my car. And he didn't say anything. And I was like, let me just ask you, do you have a sister? Yeah. And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, so would you be okay with guys behaving the way you behaved with me, towards your sister? And he's looking at me like he's got this dumbfounded look on his face. And I'm like, because of guys like you, girls can't go out and just enjoy themselves doing something as harmless as just going to the movies, So I was very upfront with him and I told him how this was very upsetting and that it wasn't fair. And that, my point was you have a sister, you should know better. You should know how to act, in an appropriate manner. Right. Come to find out, I have this whole conversation with this guy through the grapevine. I find out from another person, by the way, this guy thinks that you really like him. You're really into him because you're trying to change him for the better.
Oh my God, this sounds like a Bollywood movie.
So, girls
any
nowadays,
of our younger viewers who are listening, they're going to be like, wait, what? What used to happen? What did people think? You have to be there.
Oh my gosh. Yes. If you're in your 20s, probably at this point, you definitely had to be there. We've been through this time and it was like, wait, are you kidding me? I literally bashed this guy for doing what he did. And, and it turns out that the message he got was that I'm trying to change him for the better. Therefore, I like him and I'm interested in him. I mean, I guess maybe the saying about men are from Mars and women are...
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe there's some truth to that.
Yeah. But, here's the thing. It's just and I feel like this gets said a lot. We need to teach our children, our boys, that it's not okay to behave in that manner.
Yes.
Right? That's where it starts. We're always told you don't do this. Girls, if the boys are behaving, their actions or their behavior is always it's not even a slap on the wrist. It's just, oh, boys will be boys. They're going to do that. Whereas for girls, it's just always you have to just, your best isn't even the best. It's just, it's not good enough.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Keep us caged?
I mean, that's how I used to feel, really. Growing up, that's how I felt. I was always afraid. Anywhere I went where there was a big gathering, there was let's say boys there and stuff. I was always afraid, if somebody comes up to me, says something, my family's there, what am I going to say? How am I, it just was always they're going to, my parents or family members are going to think that I solicited this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just the times back then, there's
it's not even the times. Think of it. When we were so little, as a South Asian, if you got hurt, what happened to you first? Were you ever asked, are you okay? Or what did you do? Why did you get hurt? Why did you do this to yourself? Right?
Oh my God. That hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
It gets ingrained in us. But
it's it's always assumed it's your fault. This happened just recently. There was an accident. It was outside my house. We live on off the side of a pretty busy road, and there was an accident, and it was an Indian person, a kid, and it was pretty bad. My my mom-in-law was telling me she heard it. So she actually went to go see what had happened, and a bunch of people had gone. They actually needed to help the lady like get out of the car and whatnot. Like it was pretty bad. And the Indian boy that was in the accident, he must have called his dad to let him know. And so the dad showed up at the site of the accident, and the first thing the father said was, it was like, "Karta na kam, hone veki," it was like, it was like, "Tu kar chal, main vekhu tera,"
Yeah.
Like it was all about like, yeah, go, now try getting a new car, go drive.
The sarcasm.
Like, let's see, it was like the sarcasm, and it wasn't like, are you okay?
Right.
Like the kid was clearly shook up.
Oh, I can't
but then
imagine.
Then he gets this, like verbal, like bashing from his father.
Yeah.
And then my mom-in-law is telling me this, and I'm like, nice to know nothing has changed on that front.
There's still some things that will remain the same.
Definitely. You're so right about that. But I think what does need to change is, like you said, we need to teach our boys first. Before teaching the girls. We need to teach boys how to behave, what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, right? Like it starts from that. And the older audience members that are listening who have boys that are now like in their, teenage years or in their 20s, start with them.
Yeah.
Talk to them, right? Make sure they know what consent is.
Yeah.
Make sure they know what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, right? Like, that their actions have consequences, that it's no longer boys will be boys.
Yeah. And, like we always assume, I mean, our children aren't at that age, but hopefully we aren't like that, but it's just like, oh, well, my child wouldn't do that. Or, right?
Yeah,
or this,
you're
but
right.
no, like just, even though you're hoping they won't, you still need to emphasize it and, reiterate it, like say it, like make sure that you're respectful towards girls. Don't do any kind of action that can, make someone feel uncomfortable. But also I feel like, as you're parenting and so we live in a joint family with my in-laws, and there's things that I hear which are harmless. Like my father-in-law just wants my daughter or my son to eat something, to be healthy, all that. And you'll hear this comment of, well, if you love me, you'll finish the last bite. If you love me, you'll drink your milk. You'll finish that. And there was just this spark came one day, and I was like, no, Dad, don't say that. And he's like, why? What do you mean? And I was like, I don't want them to get conditioned because later on they're going to meet so many friends, boyfriends, girlfriends. And what if there's someone who wants not good for them? And they say, well, if you love me, you'll get in this car. Well, if you love me, you'll try this substance or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
As you're a child, slowly, that's how you build your, like, you can't say no.
Yeah.
Or you just give in. Like you're naturally just someone that says, okay, or you get shy or, you don't have that confidence to stand up for yourself and be like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, because I mean, even like as parents, we don't take no as an answer from our kids.
No, we don't. Oh, I'm not perfect. I do that multiple times. Like I'll be like, shower. I don't feel like showering. I'm sure they're feeling something. Obviously, sometimes they just don't want to do something.
Yeah,
even there's no reason.
Exactly.
But, we keep enforcing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for us, maybe it's self-reflection, a moment of self-reflection where maybe what we do need to do is instead of willing them or pressuring them to comply, what we need to do is hear them out, right? Listen to why they don't want to take that shower or why they don't want to do something, Find out what the reasoning is behind their no and then work with that. Instead of like, I don't want to hear anything, you're going in the shower. That's it, because it's like, and that's just an example. But like, if we do this with everything that we want them to listen to, then they do get conditioned to a certain extent.
They get conditioned.
And, and that point that you bring up about like, well, if you love me, you'll eat the food or we do this all the time with like, oh, well, you better finish everything that's on your plate.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like, otherwise you're not going to get dessert.
Yeah.
And I catch myself saying that. And then I have to tell myself, no. Like I have to teach my children, listen, you don't have to finish everything that's on the plate. You have to listen to your body.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Right?
Yep.
Like if your body is telling you it's full, then don't eat anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's very difficult though, right? It's like because on one hand, like I know my little one, like he'd probably be like, yeah, my body's telling me I'm full. And then 5 minutes later, my body's telling me I'm hungry now,
Yeah, because it's able to take on a cookie and a cake, but not an actual nutritious meal.
No, it's saying no to the veggies.
I guess you know what it is? Give your child the confidence that they know, well, mom and dad do listen to me. Yeah. And they know when something is good for me and when something is not good for me.
Yeah.
So then once they know, like, hey, like this is good, this is bad for me, they'll slowly start to learn that judgment call. Because if we're always saying no to everything, or if we're always forcing something, they're going to either not want to do it, or like, either way, it's going to backfire on us. So you want your child to grow up into like a young adult who has confidence in their instincts and in their decision-making skills.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And that's something that, it's not a quick fix. It's not something where you can just give them a guidebook or something like that, where you say, well, if you follow this, then you'll have the confidence and the skill set to navigate life. It's using day-to-day things as teaching moments, right? And also keeping in mind that they're allowed to say no.
Yes.
Right? Like it's okay if they say no to us and we listen and we just let it go. Because we do have to foster that in them. We have to have them navigate life on their own a little bit. What I'm finding is that we're starting to be so controlling as parents.
We're very overprotective, right? And our children are like, there's so many times when I'm like, we used to be left home alone at this age, and like all these little things, right? And that's what builds confidence.
Yeah. It's almost like we're not giving them opportunities to get out of certain situations. You know what I mean? Like we're micromanaging them so much. Like my son, like he's part of a group chat that, is on my phone, by the way, because I'm not allowing him to have a phone yet.
Yeah, no.
But I monitor that chat and I see what gets written. And I was mentioning this to one of the other parents and I was like, and they all do. They're all like, it was so funny because the parents are all chatting. And one mom goes, well, the group chat that so-and-so is in it's my phone. And I said, well, yeah, so is mine. And she goes, wait, what? She goes, I thought your son had his own phone. And I'm like, no. So, so it's like, come to find out, all of the moms that were there, the kids were using their mom's phones to facilitate discussions in this group chat. And the moms were all reading these messages. And we're talking about how like some things were so inappropriate in the chat. And one of the dads comes by and he goes, well, we had plenty of conversations that our parents didn't even know about back in the day.
Oh, completely. Like, because, we obviously had landline. We would have conversations walking home alone. We had, do you remember writing little notes on paper?
Oh, yeah.
And passing them throughout the class.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, it's different times now, but I think we still have to somehow learn to not micromanage so much, but at the same time, instill that confidence and that independence in the children to grow up to be successful adults. Yeah. It's not a lot to, not a huge task. No.
Yeah. No biggie. It'll get done. With us, like we were always conditioned to make sure the other person is pleased, that they're happy.
Yes.
Right? That's what it was. It was
that
like,
was paramount.
That was like, that person asked for that, you do it. Yeah. Like, make sure that person doesn't feel offended. So that's why whatever someone said, it was always like a yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then that's why sometimes, if ever, as you got older, if a friend told you skip a class or do this or that, maybe you would just follow along because, there are some personalities that are just naturally more overpowering. I know there were some friends that not even friends, I guess classmates that I would deal with that they themselves sometimes would initiate something that was troublesome, but they wouldn't get caught because either they wouldn't do it and they would get someone else to do it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
or they had enough experience that they knew how to get out of situations.
Yeah. Whereas, sometimes people like us who just didn't know how to say no or just didn't know how to speak up. It's like you almost froze in those kinds of times.
So, yeah. exactly.
Right? You didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to hold your own.
Yeah. Just like I froze on that subway train and, so it carries over, right? And you don't even think about it. It's been years now since that happened, but it was just, I just got to thinking about it and wondering, like, why didn't I speak up? I mean, especially since we're so into women empowerment, we're so into like lifting each other up and speaking up and saying no to like injustice that's happening towards women, you know? So without even realizing, sometimes we just don't even advocate for ourselves.
Yeah. Of course, what happened to you was a big deal, but how startled you were. You couldn't say something. Like, that's why inappropriate touch is so scary, that you as a person don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I remember I was in 7th or 8th grade. I had just moved into the new school, but I was always naturally kind of someone who was like really defensive. So, if I had to, like, I would fight. I physically fought with boys too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was for a friend, but I did it. If I had to do it, I did it. But there was this one kid who purposely fell, but he happened to like kind of fall towards my chest. And again, like your situation, I froze. I didn't say anything. It was in the class. And knowing my personality, I could have been someone who would have said XYZ things or even gotten physical. Yeah. And I didn't. And I remember for so many days actually feeling so shy and ashamed to even see this person in the eye when it should have been the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, then people wonder why victims don't come forward. Yeah. This is it.
Well, this is it. This is part of it, right? Sometimes it's because they're afraid of what the other person's going to do. But sometimes it's just internal because it's our conditioning. It's how we were brought up. It's the narrative we were fed, and somehow it's our fault, and we don't want to be at fault, right? Yeah. So, we stay quiet. But I say that no longer needs to happen. Nope. The way we make change happen is we teach our daughters to fight. Yeah. We teach them to stand up for themselves. And I'm sure, that's something you're already starting to see that in your niece, right?
Yeah. Funny thing, before I think we even decided to get on this topic this morning. So I'm staying at my sister-in-law's house, and I wake up in the morning. I'm still in my room, but I hear my niece, who is 3.5, arguing with my father-in-law. He's just saying good morning to her younger brother. And she goes, I guess an incident happened the day before. And she goes, "Don't talk to my brother. You were mean to him yesterday." And, father-in-law still trying to figure out, like, wait, what? He's like, "No, I'm just trying to say hi to him." She's like, "No, you do not talk to my brother. You were mean to him. Neil, do not talk to him."
Oh my God. Good for her.
I hear my sister-in-law go over to her and say, "That's your grandfather. You can't speak to him like that." And later on in the morning after breakfast, I made a point to my sister-in-law. I'm like, I really like the way she stood up for her brother.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I know. She's like, she does do that even though she fights with him. But she's like, she really stands up for him. And I'm like, make sure you kind of reinforce that and, keep that up for her, because as she gets older, you want her to be able to not only stand up for someone else, but for herself, to not be afraid. Because if kids feel comfortable enough, hopefully, to be able to speak their minds and their feelings with us, they'll be able to do that with outsiders.
You're 100% right. So this leads us right into the golden biscuit for today, which is to teach your daughters to be an advocate for themselves, to speak up, to be confident, and don't always force them to comply. It's okay if they go against the grain. It's okay if they have a strong mind and they're strong-willed. You want that in your daughter. This is the key to her success and the key to her growing up to be confident and to be able to take care of herself. She herself is enough. She should not need another person to take care of her. And, we could probably go on forever about this topic, but I think it's important to just kind of get the conversation started. And if someone listening has a story that's similar, or if this story reminded you of something that you went through in your childhood or something that you may have gone through recently and you'd like to talk about it, we would love to hold space for you. That's really what this podcast is about. I think in sharing our stories, we help each other to validate our feelings and to know that we're not alone And sometimes I think it's healing to just sort of let it out. Just, share your experience. And you could do it anonymously. Unfortunately, Monica and I don't have we don't have the luxury to be anonymous, but you all do. So if there's anything you'd like to share, to contact us via Instagram, Facebook, or our email, which is roohtheraz@gmail.com. It's always in our show notes. We'll be back next week with another topic, another story. Thank you for listening to ROOH. We appreciate you joining us as we cultivate a community of strong, empowered women, one story at a time. If you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, please contact us at roohtheraz@gmail.com. That's ROOHDARAAZ@gmail.com. Also, do us a favor and please share this podcast with your sisters, your mom, your friends, aunties, your eyebrow lady, like any lady you know. You get the idea. Till next time, Kush raho, be well.